Hey, this is Carly. She's presenting with me for my first time presenting at a Q conference. I've never done it before, but you've done it like once.
Oh yeah,
okay,
I'm total expert.
Also, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, we're both a little bit new, but we're doing a historical sites presentation, and people were just saying that like very few people ever do history stuff because it's kind of like so specific. But we're excited.
We're excited.
My name is Megan Forbes. I teach with Carly at First Avenue Middle School in Arcadia, and I teach English and history, and not the same students. That would be cool if it was, but I'm just in two separate departments. So it's kind of nice for me to be able to see what the English department is looking for from the other departments as far as supporting literacy, and then what the history teachers are wanting from English teachers as far as supporting reading and writing in English. So a lot of the sites that I'll be sharing with you support literacy standards across the curriculum. So this will be useful if you're trying to support those literacy standards as well. You can follow along with my daily lessons on Instagram. Speaking of the connections that the keynote speakers were talking about, I share every day on Instagram stories and pictures, just what my students are doing in class. And then I also vlog on YouTube, and I have, I don't know, 300 videos up there, I think. So if you are ever interested in English or history content, that is free on Instagram and YouTube.
And if you didn't recognize her, she was on the cover of the Back to School CTA magazine. I should put that slide. So yeah. I was in a thing. They saw how I dressed. Like, you're wearing yourself. What's the point of that? I just want to talk about why collaborate. So, you know, I'm sure everyone has different experiences on their campus. Our school is big into collaboration. Our district is. My favorite coach back here, Lucretia Anton, yay. I collaborate with her all the time. And so Megan's been at her school a few years. She's just a few years younger than me. And I've been at her school a long time, but it's really cool for me as an older teacher to collaborate with someone younger who she's been in school more recently. She's very connected online, and so we just have a lot of fun collaborating. And like when you stay in your classroom, you just like, you think you're doing good or you get tired. But when you start moving out and you work with other people, you can do a lot of great things together. So we're going through 10 sites and apps and other things like that. So iCivics, has anyone heard of iCivics? Super awesome. It's Sandra Day O'Connor's website that she started to educate and teach civics. And there's two parts. Teach, and they give you everything. Like, you don't need to, like, you know how you reinvent the wheel all the time? They give you everything. So they give you the lesson plan. You can like look at it that morning, I mean if you're desperate, but the night before is better, and just do it. And then they give you the Google, you can convert it to Google Slides. Before you could. Now you can convert it to Google Slides. So they give you the Google Slides, they give you everything you need, they give you the handouts, nice quality handouts. We're Google Classroom, and so I put those handouts online, so they get the color copies of it, and they have it when they go home, so I don't have to worry about the class set.
Another website that I absolutely love is called Facing History and Ourselves, and this one is less games and kind of the, you know, Bitmojis and all of that. This one's a little bit more serious, but I really love the topics that they have on this website. So you can kind of find a topic if you teach high school, and so maybe you are covering World War II and leading up into World War II, and you want to talk about anti-Semitism. But at the beginning of your school year, you could also kind of go thematically. I teach 6th grade history, and so we cover ancient history. And at the beginning of the year, we go through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and so we look at our whole curriculum through a lens of human rights. And then one thing that I really love about them as well is that they teach broader lessons about how people's choices have impacted history, but then they also allow you to really narrow in and focus on specific stories. So for example, there's a lesson about Emmett Till murder, and so you look at primary source documents and you look at that one specific story, but then they also widen it out to the history of lynching as a whole, and then they can even widen it out to what do we do about this today, and they'll connect it to violence historically and today and how people have reacted to that. So one of the issues with teaching history is that you want to get specific sometimes, but you know you have so much to cover. And so I feel like this website does a great job of helping you zoom in so that there are stories that really impact students, but then it also gives them that wider perspective so they understand this in context.
So BrainPop, anyone familiar with BrainPop? So BrainPop is awesome. BrainPop does cost, but BrainPop does give a free movie every day, which I think is really cool. So there are free features when you go to BrainPop. But I started using BrainPop just by myself before the district discovered the joy, and so I paid for a classroom membership myself. But BrainPop, lots of times we just think, and so they have like all ESL, they just found they had French. I saw on Twitter BrainPop in Chinese, and I told my friend in China. And so, but lots of times we just think BrainPop is like just this cool movie, but it's so much more. I took a BrainPop certification education course this summer because I wanted the t-shirt, but actually I learned a lot and I was really happy. I got the t-shirt too, but so they have, it was worth it. So, but I did, it was a well-run online course. But so they have Make a Map, and so you make concept maps, and like I'm such a BrainPop, I love Moby. So you use the BrainPop movie and images from there. You can even use Moby GIFs, the robot, and you can show how this movie works, like you understand the concept.
Okay. And our next resource for you is procon.org. Has anyone ever used procon.org? This one does not have lesson plans necessarily or PowerPoints or anything like that, but this is just a grant-funded, nonpartisan research project. And so we've heard the president of the organization speak before. And
he's really good.
Yeah, that was really powerful. And so they are just passionate about providing research on controversial topics and making sure that students have access to this, because when we tell them to research a topic and we tell them to just go on Google, they're not always getting quality research and quality sources. We'll talk about that in another resource as well, but procon.org is the perfect place to go. So these are some of their topics, and so the other day we did one on just daylight savings time, just to kind of get them into one that was a little bit less emotionally charged. So they have some, where you can just kind of start small, but you can work your way up to things that tend to get a little more controversial in your classroom. But we believe that the classroom is the place to start talking about these things and to teach students to have respect for each other and use evidence in their arguments. And this is a great place to get that evidence. This is what we use, these structured academic controversies. And if you are trying to support the speaking and listening skills, I actually use this in my English classes with 8th graders, and it is excellent. I give them some sentence frames, which they end up throwing out the window, but they sound so intelligent when they're speaking to each other and listening to each other, and they synthesize the information, and it's just wonderful. And I wouldn't do those if I didn't have procon.org, because I don't have time to go searching through the internet and look for good information and make packets for them. I'm not ever going to do that. So I just go to procon.org and they do the work for me. So I love that about them.
So Flipgrid, does everyone know Flipgrid? So Flipgrid is a really awesome tool, and Flipgrid is free for everyone. It used to not be, but Microsoft and Flipgrid got married. Or I don't know, Microsoft adopted Flipgrid. Anyway,
they picked the right session. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, we'll do the best we can.
You take a selfie. It'll be like Inception. Okay.
1, 2, 3, cheese. Where's it? Yay, thank you so much.
You've got it on
photo.
I've got it on video.
If you don't, forget us.
Then.
Oh wait, we forgot and we have a summit. Oh sorry, we have a summit on June 21st for free, and we give you lunch too.
Yeah, I don't know why it's free, but it's free.
It's a really good summit, and you can find your way around our campus better.
All right, we finished our presentation. It was really fun. I was surprised actually that quite a few people came, because sometimes it's hard to do like really content specific stuff because there aren't always a lot of history teachers or whatever, but it was super fun. Where did I park? Derek was home with Jensen this morning, but then he has a tournament in the afternoon, so I've got to go home and like switch shifts with him, so I can't stay for the whole thing. But it was really cool. The keynote speakers were great, and they were just talking about being innovative and then like making connections with other teachers, and how it's kind of hard to get better if you just stay in your classroom all the time and like maybe read some books for professional development or whatever, but like learning just happens so fast when you watch other educators teach, or when you just like collaborate with them. You can get better so quickly. Now I want all this stuff. Dang it. Okay, we found parking and we are going to see Rachel Cargle. Hi, Michelle. Hello. She speaks about unpacking white feminism. So it's in this really cool building.
For the few people who might not know who I am, my name is Cargle. I'm a graduate in New York City, where I was in University of Psychology. I am a writer.
Jensen, you're too old for that. What are you doing? This. Silly goose. Can you say Alyssa? Oh, that's so mean. Can you say Maui? Can you say Maui? Good job. Good job. This is so pretty. Look at all this delicious Thai food. Oh my gosh. Aren't those so good? Those are my favorites. I just filled up on those last time. Is that yummy rice, Jensen? It's not a cheap place. It's just a basic place, but I kind of like it. I like the pens. What did you get? Sticky marshmallows? I do like these flannels.
I do too, and I like the dark one.
Yeah. I like this blue and white one. Before I wrap up this vlog, I just wanted to reflect a little bit on this day. I wish I could have shown you more. It was kind of a hard day to like get a lot of footage, but it was not lost on me that we met in a Jewish Women's Center today to hear from Rachel Cargle. We learned from her today more about the history of feminism and the history of white feminism, and how Black women and women of color and their concerns have been historically left out of feminism, and how this isn't just rude, like this isn't just a problem because it's very exclusive, it's a problem because it leaves so many people unprotected. And Rachel kept talking about the importance of protecting Black bodies, and part of her discussion, and I don't even want to like quote her too much because I want you to see everything in context and to learn about everything that she teaches, but just one point that she makes, and it's very easy to do because she has so much video evidence of how it happens currently and then historical evidence of how it's happened in the past, but how white women can turn to the police at the drop of a hat to bring in police officers to, you know, alleviate any minor issues that they have with any Black men or Black people. We've got Bodega Betty, or whatever her name was, barbecue lady, the water bottle lady, and then the woman who falsely accused Emmett Till, and just talking about why this is so important, because we need to literally protect the lives and the safety of Black people. And just to bring this all back, we were meeting in a Jewish center, and yesterday 11 Jewish people were gunned down by a white supremacist, by a Nazi. all in the name of hate and in the name of hating people just for being a different religion or having a different ethnicity. And we have a very deep-rooted history of violence towards people who are not white. They are not safe. And what are we doing to protect people today? So many of us think that if we lived through the Holocaust, we would never have stood for what Hitler did. We would never have joined the Nazi Party. We would never have let our kids be in the Hitler Youth. We would have spoken up and spoken out when Jewish people's businesses were being taken from them, when they were being rounded up and taken to ghettos, when they were being rounded up and taken to concentration camps. We would have stood up for them. But would we have? Look at our lives right now. Do we stand up, or do we even listen to the concerns about people being killed in much higher numbers by the police when they are unarmed if they're black? Do we even listen and try to understand these issues that people of color try to bring up and try to legislate into safety? Of course we can still have discussions about them, but are we even listening? Or are we jumping in with an all lives matter, or jumping in with an I don't even see color? What are we doing? The consequences of not listening and not acknowledging that we have a deep-seated history of racism in the United States that is deadly, of course, leads to fatal consequences. There are people whose lives are at risk right now. Right now, people's lives are at risk. On the other side, it was encouraging to meet with other women today in that space that just felt so especially sacred today, and to talk about our failures, because it's important to recognize where we have failed as women, as white women, as feminists, and to look at what we can do moving forward. And it's not easy. Rachel kept saying that there are no shortcuts. She had no step-by-step instructions to teach us about talking about race and about dismantling the racism in our own communities and in our own circles. It's just another one of those things in life that you have to figure out how to do without a manual. There are plenty of resources, and I always believe that education helps so much, and education really leads to empathy and leads to action. And I feel like I'm well read and well listened, in this area, but I have so much to learn. I'm constantly placing myself at the feet of women of color who know more than I do. They know different than I do, and they always will, and I will always have things to learn from them. And I feel so fortunate that I have access to read books and hear lectures and go to conferences, and I feel responsible to share some of this information with you. And even from Instagram, I've already gotten, pushback, and people think that I'm being divisive. But I don't care about all of that when people are literally physically at risk of violence. I mean, I might have people who I don't know angry at me, or lose followers, or lose subscribers. None of those things really even impact me in a real way at all, but there are people whose lives are being impacted every single day because they're actually in danger. And so we need to protect our fellow human beings. We need to protect black bodies. We need to protect refugees and protect immigrants who are coming from countries where they have nothing, and there's state-sponsored violence which is funded by the United States. I don't want us to be divided politically in this country, but I also don't want people to be in danger. So this was a heavy weekend. It seems like a lot of weekends these days are heavy, and we have mass shootings way too often, and we see the hate crimes captured on camera and the ones that make the news way too often, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. So I encourage you to get involved on social media just because that's like what we see all the time. I, you know, go on Instagram for fun and check in with my friends, and then at the same time I'm getting resources and education about racial reconciliation. And I love that about social media, that all of the things that I love can live in one space. I can see makeup artists' looks, and I can see some fashion posts, and I can see pastors that I love, and scholars that I love, and authors, and posts about dismantling white supremacy, and all of it is in one place. So I do love that about social media, and I love when I can meet people in real life. So if you ever get a chance to see Rachel Cargle, I highly recommend it. And I would just ask you, what are you fighting for? What are the things in your life that you dedicate your time to? And is your world and is your lens bigger than just yourself and your family? It needs to be on yourself and your family, absolutely, but who else are you uplifting today? Who else are you supporting with your time, with your words, with your money, with your resources? Let's be leaders, guys. All right, I'm gonna go check on Jensen, but thank you for spending this weekend with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.